13 years old and standing under the stage lights. Her voice was raw and powerful. The audience was in complete silence as Courtney Hadwin poured her heart into the music. Nobody had imagined that a small girl from County Durham could electrify a full American theater in mere seconds. Today, join me through her remarkable journey from the moment that changed her life forever to the tragedy that overshadowed her dream. Now follow every turn of Courtney Hadwin's story, from an ambitious audition to a heartbreaking accident, and find out how her spirit led her through the darkest times of her life. They saw a brave young girl on stage, but what pain did she hide behind that bold voice? Who was Courtney Hadwin behind the closed doors before all the fame turned her world upside down? A little girl with big dreams. Courtney Hadwin was born on May 6, 2004, in Heselden, a small village in County Durham, England, to Anne-Marie and Paul Hadwin. The parents were hardworking, but even on their busiest days, they would always make time for Courtney and encourage her musical talent. Growing up, Courtney became interested in soul music. Her mother often played records of famous artists and influenced her insight into rhythm and tone. She had grown fond of music at a tender age, tapping her feet and humming along melodically. When she turned 3, she used to raise her arms and dance whenever her parents started playing music at home. Her love for music filled the house with delight. They loved her performing small shows in the living room. She was 8 when her school started lessons in singing. Her music teacher, not surprisingly, was struck by the angelic tone and remarkable depth of her voice and encouraged her to join the school choir. Weekly rehearsals in the school hall built up her confidence with each song that she did. Singing with classmates during assemblies gave her pride and happiness. Soon, her peers started calling her Rocker Girl after seeing her sing and dance at the same time. She was full of confidence, never afraid of performing before an audience, and always eager to sing. Courtney Hadwin was committed to her craft. She never missed a music lesson and practiced proper breathing, so her voice could reach every high note. Every morning before school, she could be found in front of her bedroom mirror practicing vocal scales and writing lyrics. She got a small band, Durham Soul, together with kids in the neighborhood when she was 10. Their parents were very supportive, helping with expenses for guitars and drums. Small crowds would enthusiastically listen, singing along. Her community began to recognize her gift. A local newspaper featured a story about her titled, "A Young Girl Brings Soul to County Durham." That article made Courtney's parents proud, and it instilled in her the belief that her voice really mattered. She also trained at the Schottenhall Theater School, to which her mother used to drive her every weekend. Her new music teacher taught her phrasing, tone, and control of the voice. Courtney learned to shape her sound to express the right emotion for every song. That was her purpose, turning feelings into music. Her first major performance came at a small festival in Durham City, with thousands in attendance. At first, the bright lights made her nervous, but she quickly focused and found her confidence. When she hit the last note, the audience erupted in applause. Even those who didn't know her name cheered because they were moved by her incredible voice. Her friends and other classmates would ask her to sing for every birthday or neighborhood celebration. Such performances before people with whom she was well acquainted helped her open up her emotions through music. Every time she chose songs, she chose ones which spoke to her heart, and hence, every performance was heartfelt and beautiful to her listeners. By the time she was 12, her aspirations had grown far beyond her small hometown. She started saving her pocket money to help her parents pay for plane tickets. The dream of performing on a grander stage became her mission. Late at night, she would write down the goals she wished to achieve. This child was indeed born talented, and that made her special. Don't you feel it too? Encouragement from family and friends made every step easier. Her mother always reminded her, work hard, stay humble, and never forget your purpose. Those words stayed with her as she prepared to travel far from home. Dreaming of a world beyond Heselden became the beginning of her remarkable story. 15, and with only a suitcase to her name, she arrived with a dream in her heart. But would America finally recognize her gift, or would she disappear into the crowd? What really happened when she finally took center stage? The audition that stunned America. 13-year-old Courtney Hadwin stepped off a plane in Omaha, Nebraska, that summer of 2018, clutching a small suitcase, her leather jacket, and fierce determination. It was the first time she had ever set foot on the United States. Friends had warned her to rest after arriving because of jet lag, but everything was centered around her single ambition: to earn a place on America's Got Talent. On audition morning, Courtney arrived at the CenturyLink Center filled with excitement and nerves. Inside, hopeful singers and dancers rehearsed in small groups. Backstage staff called names randomly, leaving contestants waiting in silence for their turn. Courtney held her fedora hat in one hand and her audition form in the other, took a deep breath, and followed the producers down a narrow hallway to the stage. Under the dazzling lights sat the judges, Simon Cowell, Heidi Klum, Howie Mandel, and Mel B, observing each act quietly until the very end. No sound could be heard from the crowd as Courtney stepped to the center of the stage. She was attired in her signature black leather jacket over a white shirt and dark jeans. Her hair fell loosely over her shoulders. As the band began playing the first chords of Piece of My Heart, she started softly, eyes closed, feeling the beat in her chest. And then, within moments, her full power exploded. Her voice cracked with emotion and strength as she stamped her foot to the rhythm, dancing like a seasoned performer twice her age. Every note carried grit, passion, and soul. Simon leaned closer, his eyebrows lifting in surprise. Heidi straightened in her seat, eyes wide with amazement. Howie covered his mouth with one hand, trying and failing to hide his shock. Mel B drummed her fingers on the desk, eager to hear what would come next. When the final note faded, the entire theater erupted in applause. The judges stood, clapping for her stunning performance. Then came a remarkable moment. Simon pressed his buzzer, and a red glow spread across the stage. Courtney's eyes widened as she noticed Simon smiling. She reached up for her fedora, glancing first at the judges, then toward her mother, who was crying tears of happiness backstage. A producer handed Courtney a microphone for a quick interview. Her voice trembled as she said softly, "I love to sing. It makes me feel free." That simple answer moved the audience deeply. That very night, her performance clip spread rapidly across social media. By the next morning, it had gathered more than 10 million views on YouTube. Major outlets like the New York Times and the BBC released stories calling her the voice of a teen Janis Joplin. Headlines celebrated her raw strength and bold energy, while papers back home in Heselden printed front-page articles about how she had taken America by storm. Producers soon invited Courtney back for a private audition. Inside a glass-walled room, cameras rolled as she reunited with other contestants and judges. She performed an original song written by her vocal coach, Laura, titled Heart and Soul. Even without stage lights or effects, her voice filled the space with emotion. Simon commended her for her originality, saying, "You're not copying anyone. You're just being yourself." That moment became a turning point. The judges made sure she advanced straight to the live shows. Leaving the room, she was surrounded by fellow performers who hugged her and congratulated her. In interviews afterward, Courtney admitted she missed her family and friends, yet she also felt a growing sense of belonging on the America's Got Talent stage. That night, messages flooded in from around the world. New fans praised her across social media. Notes came from Japan, Brazil, and everywhere in between, thanking her for sharing her gift. One person wrote, "Your voice makes me feel alive." Another said, "You remind me of my daughter." Overwhelmed with happiness, Courtney cried. She realized her singing had touched hearts she might never meet. In the weeks that followed, videos of her audition continued to go viral. Talk shows called to book her. The Today Show invited her to perform live. Between appearances, she balanced school through online classes, with her parents' support helping her manage both study and stage life. Through every interview, she stayed grounded, focused more on music than fame. Her journey from a small-town choir in England to a standing ovation in America revealed not only her talent, but also her courage. She was devoted to her craft, and this was her biggest opportunity. That audition became the moment the world met Courtney Hadwin. From then on, everything changed. America's Got Talent had found its new star, and Courtney Hadwin had found her moment to shine. Overnight sensation. When the live shows began, Courtney Hadwin wasn't just another contestant anymore. She was already a headline. Within hours of her audition's online debut, people across the globe were captivated. Fans shared her performance everywhere, tagging family and friends. News outlets ran stories titled "Teen Rock Star from England Steals the Show." In less than a day, her video surpassed 10 million YouTube views. Suddenly, this young girl from County Durham was living the dream she once imagined. She arrived in Los Angeles under special chaperone arrangements, still keeping up with her studies. Her tutor traveled with her, helping her stay on top of schoolwork while she focused on preparing for her next performance. Each morning, Courtney woke up early to rehearse before breakfast. She warmed up her voice with scales and breathing exercises, stretching her shoulders and chest to strengthen each note. Her coach observed carefully, offering tips on timing and breath control. Gradually, small daily improvements built her skill and confidence. Afternoons meant rehearsals on the America's Got Talent stage. Bright lights hung above, while cameras glided along tracks to capture every angle. Courtney practiced performing under the glare of spotlights and fog effects, learning how to keep her presence centered on the music. She even rehearsed walking with a microphone stand, perfecting when to pause for dramatic effect. Producers and crew were impressed by her maturity and dedication. When Live Show Week arrived, Courtney chose to sing Janis Joplin's Maybe. Standing beneath glowing arches and deep red lights, she waited in silence as the audience held its breath. Then she began, her voice powerful and full of emotion. Halfway through, the crowd rose to its feet, cheering so loudly it shook the venue. Judges smiled and nodded approvingly. As she finished, confetti cannons fired, showering her in glittering streamers while applause thundered through the hall. Her name appeared across music blogs, fan sites, and trending charts. Within 24 hours, her performance ranked among the most viewed clips in the show's history. Soon, talk shows were calling. The Ellen DeGeneres Show invited her to perform. When Courtney stepped onto the stage, Ellen greeted her with a big hug. They laughed as Ellen jokingly tried to copy her raspy tone. Courtney mentioned she missed her dog back home and said the applause made her heart feel full. Next came The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon. Jimmy surprised her by having Questlove play a live drumbeat as she sang a blues classic. The audience clapped along. Afterward, Jimmy and Questlove praised her voice and passion, teasing that they should form a band together. Courtney laughed and said she might after she finished school. Each appearance lifted her fame higher. Record labels offered contracts and merchandise companies inquired about shirts and hoodies. Yet, Courtney stayed humble. She remembered her mother's advice, to sing for joy, not fame. After every interview, she called home to stay connected with her family. She often wrote in her journal, "Today, I sang for millions. Tomorrow, I'll sing with my heart because I love it." From one viral audition to global recognition, Courtney Hadwin's story became that of an overnight sensation. But behind the sudden fame lay hours of hard work, discipline, and the same dream she'd always had, to sing with all her heart. Millions now knew her as the fearless girl with a powerhouse voice. But soon, the lights would dim, and on one rainy night, everything would change. What truly happened that night?